Hello there, Clapperheads, and welcome to a brand new edition of ClapperCorns. Feels good to say that again. My name is Nick Dorian. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the documentary Man on the Run. Now, undoubtedly, this documentary has been steeped in a little bit of controversy, especially in Malaysia, due to its subject matter, which involves Jolo and the 1MDB scandal. In case you're unsure what the 1MDB scandal is, I'm going to summarize it very quickly because this is still an ongoing scandal that's happening right now, and it is a long story. Essentially, 1MDB was a strategic development company that found itself right in the center of a money laundering, fraud, and theft scandal that involved the loss of nearly $3.5 billion US. And who was at the center of that scandal? None other than Jolo and Malaysia's Prime Minister at the time, Najib Razak. Needless to say, all Malaysian eyes have been on this ever since the lawsuit was filed by the DOJ way back in 2015. It was a case that was heard all around the world and put Malaysia on the map for all the wrong reasons during that time. Now, if you go to YouTube and type the 1MDB scandal, I'm sure you'll be met with a multitude of videos that will explain this case in further detail. There's also been other documentaries made about this, more notably Dirty Money on Netflix and The Kleptocrats, which gained quite a large popularity around it. And now we've got yet another documentary called Man on the Run, which, to be honest, doesn't really do things much differently than the others. Sure, aesthetically, it's a wonderful watch. The visuals are very engaging, and it's a good storytelling from start to finish. My only gripe with this documentary is that for a Malaysian like myself, this is a story that we know from back to front. There's nothing really new brought to the table within this documentary. Sure, for an outsider's perspective, this is a very good insight into what the 1MDB scandal. But if you already know the stories and the twists behind it, you will understand this altogether, and there's nothing, like I said, really new brought to the table. Having said that though, it is still a very good watch, and undoubtedly I'm going to draw comparisons to the Kleptocrats to this. Now, while the Kleptocrat focused more on the 1MDB scandal as a whole, what Man on the Run does differently is they focus a little bit more on Jolo himself. Yes, of course, they delve into the case, but we get a little bit more backstory on Jolo, or as some people like to call him, the Asian Great Gatsby, which, to be fair, is not wrong, but do we want to give that title to him? We get to see a little bit about his backstory, as well as what made him tick and what made him into the person that he is today, and how he is still literally a fugitive on the run that we still can't find. And when the Kleptocrat came out, we hadn't really delved into the thoughts of our current Prime Minister, Anwar Ibrahim, which this documentary does a few interviews with him, so we get to hear his side of the story as well, and what his thoughts of the whole case were. And interestingly enough, we talk a little bit about the rivalry between him and Mahathir, which I thought was an interesting choice. Another slight gripe that I have is I wished it delved a little bit more further. In its 98 minutes of runtime, it scratches the surface on a lot of other issues that happened within the scandal. Most notably was the murder case of Dato' Anthony Kevin Moraes, who was the Deputy Public Prosecutor of the Attorney General's Chambers in Malaysia, as well as the Malaysia's Anti-Corruption Commission. It was a case that was very shocking during the time of this whole scandal, because suddenly one day he went missing and was then found in an oil barrel filled with cement, and his body parts had been chopped up. It was shocking and honestly quite sickening, and shocked a lot of people in Malaysia during that time. Yes, they touched on it, but it was barely 5 minutes. It could have delved deeper, because that was a major point within this whole scandal. Irregardless of these gripes, it is still a documentary that's worth watching, especially if you're outside of Malaysia and don't really understand the case fully. Perhaps you read it in the newspaper, or perhaps a friend told you about it and you'd like to know a little bit more. This documentary is perfect for you. And the fact that it's on Netflix puts it on the world stage, so anyone around the world can have a look at what this whole scandal was like. As I said earlier, the documentary is engaging, has some great visuals and storytelling, and also has some great interviews with people like Ho Lei Tat, the chief editor of The Edge, as well as our favorite MP, Tony Phua, who really doesn't let anything back. He is no holds barred and just speaks his mind, and I love it. So do yourself a favor, Man on the Run is now streaming exclusively on Netflix. Go watch it, feed your mind, and have a little insight into the scandal that shocked the entire country. And as always, you can check us out on all social media. It's all on the screen at the moment: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and of course YouTube. Make sure you go and subscribe or follow all those social medias for more updates. Thank you so much again for watching. My name is Nick Dorian, and until next time, keep watching the movies.